Have you ever played a game that's got magic in and wondered what it would be like if you had those spells in real life? I don't just mean like the power fantasy of what you would do to, I don't know, a bully, the boss that's annoying you, none of that. I mean, what would it actually be like to have those spells? What changes would it make to your life? Now, I've been inspired before by the Dungeon Dudes, and it's happened again. I've watched their videos on ranking the spells in D&D 5e for the best ones in the game, how they impact the characters. What I want to do in these videos is how do the spells, or how would the spells impact you if you had them in real life? What ones would you want? Now I'm going to use the same kind of tier ranking system that everyone does, the subgd. So S tier at the top, D tier at the bottom. So let's go ahead and rank what those tiers actually mean. Now for me, an S tier is a spell that changes your life significantly for the better. You know, makes you better at whatever you want to be good at, or makes you a load of money, or just gives you something that is so much different to what technology can give us that it just makes you want it. So an A tier is a spell that is useful, and it's going to be useful to most people, but it's no game changer. You know, you're not a millionaire because of it, nothing like that. A B tier is going to be a spell that, for some people, it's really helpful. I.e., it's an A tier, but only for some people. I'm thinking like a profession could really use this, but if you're not in that profession, it doesn't really work for you. You may use it once, twice a year. It's not that big a deal. You probably won't miss it if you didn't have it. A C tier is a spell that's useful for very few people in very rare circumstances. You're not going to want this generally. Like, you might use this a couple of times in your life if you do a certain thing. D tier is, of course, trash. You don't want this spell. You can do it better, cheaper, or it's just not worth doing in the first place. Oh, addition to that is a spell that can't be cast. What we're going to do in this series is use the spells as read and adjudicated by GMs in general. I say that because there's a lot of damage spells that the actual text say you have to cast it at a target or a creature. It actually says creature. Does that mean that I can't Eldritch Blast a door? That seems silly. So in those circumstances, I'm going to allow it to be used as GMs would. A GM's going to allow you to Firebolt rope to drop a drawbridge. So I will too. Now we know how we're ranking the spells, let's talk about the assumptions that I'm going to make. Because obviously D&D is not real life. I'm sorry for anyone that thinks it is. I'm not going to say anything about Santa at this point. It's not real life, so we're going to have to translate in some way. In order to work out how effective our spells are going to be, what chance they have of actually hitting someone or being successful, we need to figure out what stat block we're going to use. Now, none of us are any of the heroic characters, obviously, so we are going to be commoners. Commoners have a flat 10 across the board for all their stats, so there's no bonuses there for anything. We've got an average of 4 hit points, and we get our +2 proficiency bonus because that's what it says they get. So, obviously, we know that people aren't all the same. People have different skills, but I can't judge who has like more charisma and what that actually means in numbers. So sorry, you can think you're better, but everyone is a commoner as far as I'm concerned. Sorry to all those nobles, you're no different to anyone else. Right, let's work out our spell DC. So, basic calculation is 8 plus your proficiency bonus, plus any bonuses you get from your stats. So we don't get any bonus from our stats, +2 proficiency. We got a spell DC of 10. For spell attack bonus, you get proficiency plus your stat bonus, which is, for us, just +2. That isn't great, obviously. That means that we are going to be hitting an armor class of 10 on anything from an 8 to a 20. And that does mean that a 65% chance of hitting. So, not too bad, I guess. We do need to speak about healing spells, because what do they actually do in real life? I mean, nothing, because they're not real, but what would they do? In my mind, what they would do is accelerate the normal healing process that your body possesses. Just, really accelerates them. So things like broken bones, cuts, bruises, all of those sort of things, they will heal. Things that won't heal is diseases. And if you're sick because of food poisoning, it won't heal that. It will heal any damage that's caused by that, but not the actual poisoning itself. I mean, it's still great, but limited, because D&D limits it. There is a cure poison spell, there's spells to cure all various different ailments like blindness, etc. So, just accelerated healing. Because we are taking the spells as written, that includes any of the extra components that are needed. So semantic and verbal and material. Now, generally speaking, semantic and verbal are probably going to be okay, but the material ones are going to be a problem. Sometimes material components require something that only exists in the fantasy world. So that means we can't cast that spell. It also states that things are a particular value in gold pieces. Well, what are gold pieces worth? I'm glad you asked, because I worked it out. So, different day, different lighting, because my first try at this, I got it all wrong. So here we go again. I think the closest representation we have to a gold piece is probably the old style gold doubloon. So I checked what they were, and it turns out they were 6 to 7 grams roughly of 22 karat gold. So here's the prices of gold per gram, which is about £50. Let's say it's 325, we'll split the difference. £325 per gold piece. Now, when we're talking about anything in the game really, you spend 10 gold on a good sword, that's £3,000. That's a lot of money. So I think sometimes when a spell component will say you need 25,000 gold pieces worth of something, we are talking about an absolute fortune. Something to bear in mind as we look at the spell component requirements. Another thing I'm going to do is downgrade a spell's rating if we have technology that's readily available that either completely replicates it, surpasses it, or pretty much comes close. Light spells, for example. We have those. We have torches. We have portable lights. We have lights on our phones. The final thing I want to talk about is the spells that actually just kill people. I don't think you should use them. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think you should. So I'm going to talk about them, and I'm going to talk about them in the sense of using them as offensive weapons. But they are automatically downgraded. I think that's all the rules. I don't think there's anything else I've missed. If there is, I'll probably mention it in a spell description specific one. Okay. We're good? We all understand how I'm doing this? Let's get into the first one. So our first cantrip is Acid Splash. I'll put it up on screen now. I'm going to read. This is a casting time of 1 action within 60 feet, verbal and somatic components, and what you do is you chuck a bubble of acid at someone. You can choose 2 creatures if they're within range of each other, which is 5 foot, and it's a dex save, or you take 1d6 acid damage. First off, please don't chuck acid at people. It's a horrible, horrible thing to do. Don't do it. And with 1d6 acid damage that you're going to cause, you're pretty much going to kill someone or make them wish that they had not survived. I don't like this idea of chucking acid at people, obviously, and I don't think, even if you had to, 1 every 6 seconds doesn't really rank to the same as having a gun. You know, it's not the best weapon. However, what if you could sell the acid? It's a lot of acid in a 5-foot sphere. Guess what? I did the maths, obviously. I worked out that there's going to be 1,767 litres in a 5-foot diameter sphere. Now, I'm going to choose sulfuric acid. It's a pretty bad acid. It does the kind of thing that the spell you expect to do against someone. How much does that sell for? I mean, it's not a lot. It's 12 cents per kilogram. And I worked out that with the weight of sulfuric acid, you get 3,227 kilograms in those 1,767 litres. That means about $387 per bubble. Let's call it $400. Price changes. $400 a bubble. Every 6 seconds. That's a really good hourly rate, right? If you could create acid that's useful to some sort of industrial process and find the buyers for it, this is an S-tier spell. You could basically spend 3 hours a week making 4K a minute. You know, just cast a spell for an hour. You got $250,000. That's incredible. That is life-changing. I'm going to put it in A just because there's doubt on whether it's actually going to be valuable and you're actually going to find a market for it. Just goes to show that you should choose your acid secretions carefully. Not all acid secretions are the same. On to our next cantrip, which is Blade Ward. Blade Ward has verbal and semantic components, and you basically trace a sigil in the air, and until the end of your next turn, which, bear in mind, is only 6 seconds, you have resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage done by weapons. Now, this was nearly good, but I don't know about you, I don't get hit by weapons very often, and if someone was going to hit me with a weapon, they're not going to give me notice. This isn't a reaction. This isn't that kind of spell that a split second you can cast. You actually have to draw something in the air. And it only lasts 6 seconds. I'm thinking of this as a deflection type effect because it only says you have resistance. So that's half damage. That means you still get damaged. So if someone shoots you, for example, and you have time to put this ward up, the bullet still hits you. It just doesn't hit you in as bad an area, as damaging a way. So, I don't know, you still get shot. And why wouldn't they just shoot you again for the same effect? It's 6 seconds. I can't see when this would be useful for the vast majority of people. Even those in that situation that need it are not going to have the time most of the time. So, yeah, it's a C tier. Yes, sometimes it might save your life. Once, but generally it's not gonna. Okay, on to our next cantrip, which is Booming Blade. With this spell, you cast it on your melee weapon and hit someone with it. If you do actually connect, they get booming energy around them, which means that if they move 5 feet of their own accord in the next 6 seconds, it explodes with thunder and basically kills them. It does 1d8 damage, which is more than our general hit points, so very good chance of being fatal. I don't get the point of this. So you're attacking someone already, right? So either you want to keep hitting them with your melee weapon and not kill them, or you want to hit them again and again and again and kill them. This just kills them. I'm going to give this a D. I don't like this idea or the spell or how it works at all. This is a public magic service announcement on behalf of the Department of Magical Safety. Never teach your child booming blade. This is what could happen. Hello, Timmy.
Hello, disembodied voice.
And how old are you?
I'm 8.
Really?
Use your imagination.
Okay.
Look what I got. It's a really realistic toy sword. Hello, Timmy. Oh, hello, Johnny. Look what I can do with my sword. Booming blade. Cool, isn't it? Oh, wow, that's so cool. Bop. Oh, I'm turning my mum on you. Oh, don't do that.
This tragic incident could have been avoided if only Tim's parents hadn't taught him booming blade. Our next one is Chill Touch. This is a spell that you create a ghostly skeletal hand inside the space of someone, and you use a spell attack, a ranged spell attack in fact, and if you hit them, you do 1d8 necrotic damage, which I'm going to say exists. It rots you. It's fine. It does mean they can't regain hit points, but you know what? People can't regain hit points in 6 seconds anyway. So that's irrelevant to the real world application. As is the attacking undead. We don't have any. If it didn't actually have to be in and around someone, I think this would potentially have some sort of use in saving money in computer graphics for films or TV or whatever. Maybe it's like a party trick scare thing. But it kind of has to be on someone, and you're probably going to hit them and kill them. Not so funny a party trick if you do that. So, I don't really see this being that useful. Outside of hurting someone. And for hurting someone, 120 feet range that it's got is pretty far. And you got a 65% chance of hitting someone, which might be more than a gun. That would be the alternative in real life if you're in that situation. So I don't know, it's only every 6 seconds as well, which a gun is not. Even as a weapon that you would consider using, this is borderline useful anyway. It's a C. I think most people would probably rather have a gun. Actually, strike that. I think most people would not want to be in that kind of a situation at all. If you are, people would want a gun. Control Flames is a cantrip that allows you to control flames. It is pretty well named, I'd say. You have the ability within 60 feet of you to control flames that take up no more than a 5-foot cube. And you can either extend in one direction 5 feet, you can extinguish it immediately, you can make it brighter, dimmer, or change its colour, or both, or you can basically make animations within it, really simple animations. This is saved by one of those effects. I reckon you probably know which one it is, but let's go through them anyway. The extending the fire only works if you are extending it to something that burns. And why are you doing that? Fire does that anyway. I don't know that you really need to do it. In D&D it makes sense because you might hurt someone, but in real life I don't really see this as being useful. The extinguishing the flames is obviously the best one. This is amazing. Now most people, I hope, aren't going to be in a situation where something's on fire near them and they want to put it out. But when that happens, you can do 5 feet cubes every 6 seconds. That's quite a large area actually. That means instantly snuffing out the source and being able to go around a room within 30 seconds. I think you'd probably be able to control a fire. This is going to be most useful for firefighters though. This this will be invaluable. This is the best thing that has ever happened to them, because you're putting out the fire like that. Fantastic. Every 6 seconds. You'd be the best fireman ever, probably. Just by that alone, this is B tier, right? The doubling or halving the light brightness and changing the colour, meh. I mean, maybe. Light shows in a 5-foot cube, yeah, fine, great. We've got lights that do that. We've got filters that you can put on. Have you heard of gels? Not that useful compared to what we've already got. And the animations, that might be fun. Are you drawing your kids away from YouTube to watch your animations in the fire? Maybe once, but it's not going to be as fun as what they want to watch on YouTube, is it? Let's be honest. This has to get a B, simply because of the usefulness it is to, like, firefighters. Again, it's that profession is going to be using this constantly. Most people might use it occasionally, rarely, never, hopefully. So this is a B. Sticking with fire-based cantrips, but going away from the usefulness, is create Bonfire. This is a concentration spell where you basically create a bonfire on the ground within 60 feet and it lasts a minute. I don't know how many people need a bonfire that lasts a minute. I think it's not many, which is a shame because this was almost good. Like, obviously, there will be times that you might be stuck somewhere and you need a bonfire. This ain't it. This is a minute. You got to concentrate on it. You can't go to sleep. You can't relax. Very, very niche circumstances, maybe this is useful. We have the ability to create fire. We have heaters. We have so many bits of technology that do what this does, but allows you to sleep. You don't have to constantly keep it in mind. I'm going to give this a begrudging C, because I can imagine someone saying, no, could have died if I didn't use this in a situation like this. Maybe. I don't know. It's a C. I want to give it a D, but I can imagine that there is someone that would use this. Dancing Lights is a cantrip that requires concentration and allows you to create 4 torch-sized lights within 120 feet of yourself and make them appear as different types of lighting, whether it's a torch, a lantern or a glowing orb. You can combine them all into what looks roughly like a humanoid, but whatever one you choose, the light is dim and only goes out to 10 feet. You can move the lights every sort of 6 seconds up to 60 feet, though they must all be within 20 feet of each other and can't go out of that 120 foot range. It does require a material component, which is either a bit of phosphorus, some witchwood or a glowworm. Now, witchwood and glowworms might not be that easy to get hold of, but you can buy phosphorus tablets for £7 per 125. So really, really cheap, like, pennies. We have so many ways of lighting areas that this seems entirely unnecessary. It's probably not actually cheaper than the electricity you use to power rechargeable batteries on your torch or your phone or whatever. It's also not very good. You can light like a 40 meter radius-ish area with dim light, as opposed to like actually lighting it properly so you can see really well. Like, I don't think you can read by dim light, for example. I kind of want to give it a D because it's so inferior to what we can do. Oh, do I bump it to a C just because? If you're not prepared. But if you're not prepared, have you got your phosphorus tablets with you? Are you keeping them on you at all times? More so than your phone? More so than a torch if you're outside? No, I'm going to give it a D. Argue with me in the comments if you want to. I'm open to moving it up, but I can't think of why I would. Our next cantrip is Druidcraft. This has a range of 30 feet and has different effects, so let's go through them. First off is the best one by far, where you can predict the weather for the next 24 hours. It's not particularly detailed. It gives you an idea of like sun, rain. How does that work if it's going to be sunny and rainy? I hope that it actually does give you a really good indication of like it's starting to rain and then getting sunny. Unfortunately, this only lasts for 6 seconds. So there might be a bit too much information to really convey that well and for you to judge how long each thing lasts. Like maybe in some countries, the weather is whatever the weather is that day. It's either sunny or it's rainy. In the UK, it don't work like that. We can have multiple different sun, rain sessions during the day. It's a shame. I don't think this is useful here, but can you actually make some sort of small business go into places that put on events and say, tomorrow's going to be rainy, you need to prepare for that? They have insurance for if an event gets rained off and things like that. It costs money. There may be value here. I don't know how big it is, but there may be some. Moving on to the next effect, which is instantly making a flower blossom, a seed pod open, or a leaf bud bloom. For most people, this is not helpful. For gardeners, you probably still don't want to do this. I imagine there's a reason the flower's not bloomed yet. The temperature's not right. It might harm the flower to do so. Here's my niche application for this effect. And I mean, it's niche. You are a gardener who goes into competitions showing off gardens. And you want all of your flowers at their best when the judges come round. Simple. Druidcraft, bloom. Druidcraft, bloom. Go round, spend like half an hour beforehand going round and making everything perfect. There's your very rare use case. Otherwise, I don't see it. Now, creating the harmless effect, illusory effect. Yeah, this might be helpful sometimes. This might be a bit of fun. It's a party trick. It's a distraction if you need one. I don't know. Rare, but potential. Does it change your life? No, I don't think so. It's not interesting enough to make a career out of. You know, it's a small effect. It's a 5-foot cube, so it's not a big area. And none of them seem that great. I mean, I like the idea of like a faint odour of skunk. What does that mean? They're traditionally like extremely smelly, but it's a faint odour of it? That's weird. Not useful particularly. The last one is the instantly lighting or snuffing out a candle, torch or small campfire. Matches. Lighters. The little thing that you put over the candle. I mean, you can do this within 30 feet, so if you live in Victorian England and you brought your candle up to bed, you can just put it out without actually getting up. Fantastic. Not that useful, niche again. This is a tough one. I think maybe this is a B because of the weather predicting. Like, it would be nice to know if your barbecue's going to be rained out tomorrow. That would be handy to know. How accurate and useful and detailed the information is might be a problem though. That's my only reservation there. So it just gets into a B. Might not actually deserve to be there. I'm going to stick with B for now. Our next cantrip is the Warlock's favourite, and it's a great one in D&D. It's Eldritch Blast. So this is really simple. It's a blast of energy that you can chuck at someone 120 feet away. It does 1d10 force damage, which is tons. Definitely going to kill someone, even at the first level. You got a 65% chance to hit what you're aiming at. If it's a person, if it's stationary, I don't know. I assume you still got to aim it. I'll stick with 65%, right? To actually hit something. Now, because this is the internet, I feel like I need to say this. Please don't fire crackling bolts of eldritch energy at people. It's bad. If you're in that unfortunate situation where you need to chuck a bolt of energy at someone, let's think about this against conventional weapons. 120 feet is a fair way. 65% chance to hit at that range. I don't know, I think that's probably better than most people with a weapon, right? It's hard to hit someone 120 feet away. I think this probably wins out on a conventional weapon accuracy wise, but again, this is every 6 seconds. It's basically a C from that point of view. Maybe edging. I don't want to give these things any better than a C. It's a C from that point of view, but can you use it outside of that? Now, as I said in the assumptions, I think it's fair to say you can aim this at objects. It doesn't have to be a creature. You're going to do a bit of demolishing. You need to knock down a wall. You need to be sure that you're going to hit what you want to hit. And 45% chance of missing and like blowing something up is a bit too high, I reckon. If you need to just destroy something, this probably works better than like a jackhammer, right? You're doing a lot of damage. What's the damage on the jackhammer though? I don't know. I think if you're doing like landscaping and you've got a field which you just need to blast rocks out of and nothing around it is damageable or you don't care, great, yeah, blam, blam, blam. Landscape gardeners might actually find this useful. I think it might be too inaccurate to use outside of that. I think it might still be C. I don't think professionals are going to want to use this above the tools that they already use. I think it's just too unpredictable. 65% chance is not enough. It's not precise. I'm gonna stick with a C. Argue if you think it's a B. If you've got a use case, let me know. But I'm gonna stick with a C. Yeah, I look different in this bit. It's because I've learnt how to cast Disguise Self. I'm not very good at it, so it probably won't last more than 4 or 5 kind of cantrips that I'll be talking about. It wears off really quickly. Don't tell him that. I'm saying Disguise Self, shush. Anyway, our next cantrip is Encode Thoughts. With this cantrip, you pull out a memory, an idea or a message from your mind and transfer it into a tangible string that lasts 8 hours and that you can carry around with you. If you are holding the string, you can use this spell again to reabsorb it into your mind. If you can cast a spell like Detect Thoughts or something on someone else, you can draw a memory or an idea, etc. out of their mind and store it. Obviously, if someone else can cast Encode Thoughts, they can use it to read whatever memory strand you have. Now this one, I don't think this is very good, to be honest. Let me explain why, because at first glance it kind of sounds interesting, but we've got phones. If I've got an idea, I can record my idea, right? It takes a little bit longer. Maybe I'm not quite as clear, but I can record my thoughts. I can also jot down anything, and it lasts as long as I want it to. I can make copies of it. I can send it to other people if need be. This spell doesn't do as much as that. Now, I was speaking to a friend about this, and they said it would be quite handy sometimes if you think of something in the moment to be able to just grab it out of your head and then remember it later on. And I get that. I get that that's a thing. But you've only got 8 hours. And the chances of that being more useful than writing a little memo or recording a little video or voice note, I don't think I see it, to be honest. I just don't think it's that much better than what we've got. Moving on to the idea of taking someone else's memory. Kind of depends on you having other spells, of course. I don't know, is that useful? Maybe you can get ideas across better. Basing this cantrip on its own and not in association with another spell is kind of a D. It doesn't do anything better, I don't think, than we can do already. If you have the other spells, it's a C that you might use. It may even be a B in the sense that if you're in a profession where you need to understand what someone means, understand their idea, pulling it out of their heads, oh, actually, no, that wouldn't work because then they won't remember it. That also makes me think a kind of eternal sunshine of a spotless mind thing. Can you take a bad memory from someone? And if you do, should you? Is that actually a good thing? Maybe. There's ethical concerns about that one, so it may be bumped up to a C. You know what? I'm gonna just do a C because I'm not convinced. Psychologically, it's always the best idea to remove people's memories. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. Some cases it might be. I'm going to give it a C for that, just for that alone, because I'm unsure. Encode Thoughts. C. Our next cantrip is Firebolt. This is a staple of sorcerers and wizards, where you basically chuck a firebolt, a bolt made of fire, at someone. It does 1d10 damage, which is horrifically burning someone if they survive, which they probably won't. You can always chuck this at an object as per our rules and burn something. I'm trying to think, there obviously are people that do need to burn things, right? In a controlled way. People use flamethrowers for clearing plants, whatever. There are professions that use it. With this, there's a chance that you're going to miss, and whilst it does do quite a lot of damage, it's every 6 seconds, which is probably not as fast as you'd like it to be. Rather than like a flamethrower, this is kind of more a inaccurate flame shotgun. I don't know if this is going to be better than what we have. Obviously, it's cheaper. You don't have to burn the fuel for the flamethrower, but I think the inaccuracy might be a problem in most situations. So, while we have technology that does things better than this, I would say, I'm going to give it a C anyway, because I think it could be useful in limited circumstances. Our next cantrip is Friends. For up to 1 minute, you have advantage on your charisma checks against one creature of your choice, as long as they're not actively hostile towards you. When the spell ends, that creature realises that you used magic to influence them, and they won't be happy about it. There is a material component here, which is just putting a little bit of makeup on your face, which, that's fine. That's not going to be any kind of a problem, surely. But them knowing that you used magic on them and basically cheated them somehow, deceived them, How is that going to be a good thing? How is that ever going to work in your favour in real life?
Well, mate, now come in.
Private party. Name's not down, you ain't coming in.
Oh, go on.
No.
One sec. Friends. Look, think of it like this, right? They're going to like me. I'm a friendly guy. I'm going to become friends with them. And since they're only inviting their friends, and I'd basically become a friend as soon as I got in there, I'm basically invited, right?
Yeah.
So, can I come in now?
Yeah, sure. Go on, kill.
Cheers, man.
Hold on a minute. You little...
Bearing in mind that you're not necessarily always going to succeed anyway. So it's not like you get your way all the time. And you're just riling people up. You're basically asking for a fight if you do this. This is pretty much a D. I just do not see this one working at all. Our next spell is Frostbite. With a spell you cause numbing frost to form on a creature within 60 feet. They must make a Constitution saving throw, and if they fail, the target takes 1d6 cold damage. And it has disadvantage on the next weapon attack roll it makes before the end of its next turn, so no more than 12 seconds basically. What use cases are there here, apart from injuring someone? I initially thought frost freezing. So basically you're on a fishing boat and you can frost freeze your catch. Except you can't every time, because what if you fail the Constitution saving throw? And if they do fail, what does 1d6 damage do to a fish? Like, it obviously kills it. Is this good? How long does the cold numbing thing last? 12 seconds. That's rubbish. I've been trying to think of possible use cases here because it doesn't sound that great. With the Constitution saving throw, you might miss like 45% of the time, right? That's terrible. For starters, that's not the best. You'd probably be better off with a gun and with a fair bit more bullets, fair bit more attacks within a short space of time. Ooh, I'm not convinced that this is of much use beyond what we already have. I think it's probably a D. I can't really see this being a preference over other methods of attacking, and you don't want to freeze anything with this because you destroy it and it won't freeze for very long. I think a D. It's not good. I can't think of any other reasons to use this. The next cantrip is Green Flame Blade. With this you cast it on a melee weapon and you make an attack against a creature within 5 feet of you. If you hit, you've hit and you do whatever damage you normally do to that creature, but you can also cause the green fire to leap from the target to a different creature within 5 feet of it, and they take fire damage equal to your spellcasting ability modifier. Now, let's remember what our modifier is, our spellcaster ability modifier. It's 0, isn't it? Because we got 10 charisma or 10 intelligence or whatever. So if you hit, you can make fire go onto someone else that doesn't hurt them. But that's not very good. That's pointless. So effectively, in our world, this spell does nothing. Obviously, that's a D. Without any kind of... I don't need to speak anymore, do I? It just makes fire appear on someone. Wow. Cool. Or hot. But neither, actually. Because it don't do anything. D. Everybody wants guidance, right? Yeah, actually, for the purposes of this video, Yeah, everyone probably does want guidance. It's a good spell. Now, mechanically, it allows you to give 1d4 bonus to anyone's ability checks. How that translates into the real world is so hard to judge because no one's sitting there saying what the DC is for any of the tasks people do in real life. But real hot take here, like, I know I'm going to get stuff sent to me for this. Well, I won't because people won't watch the video, but it's better to be better at stuff. There you go, I've said it. I think it's a good thing if you can improve how good you are at things. And that's exactly what this spell does. This spell makes you better at anything that takes skill. Is it S tier? No, I don't think so, because I don't think it's going to, like, it's not going to make you a great sports person, right? One, because you might not in most sports be able to, like, touch yourself every 30 seconds, 20 seconds, every time you need to do something. If you're a footballer, you might be, like, taking the free kicks, but how much does 1 to 4 actually mean in real life? Hard to say. I don't think this isn't going to turn you into a fantastic sports person, right? But being better at stuff will be really handy. I think it's going to be useful for everyone. I think it's an A. I can see this being like a game changer for some people. Very niche though. Imagine you're a baseball coach, right? When everyone goes out to bat, you pat them on the back, pat them on the shoulder, and you say your spell. You cast guidance on them. For the next minute, the one hit they do is, well, probably the next hit, is better than they could do normally. So you're making every professional better. Every team wants an edge. You would be that edge. You would be a top coach. Like, you already have to be good. So, again, this is not life-changing for people. But you would be more successful than other coaches. I think that's pretty good. I don't think it makes it an S tier, though. I don't think this changes people's lives enough to really, like, make it S tier. But it's easily an A tier. Be better at stuff. Get some guidance. So our next cantrip is a real drop down from the heady heights of guidance. This is Gust. Gust allows you to kind of manipulate the air a bit. You can push people around, assuming that they don't succeed on a strength saving throw, which, as we know, is a 55% chance that they will fail. And you can move them 5 feet away from you. A proper, like, respect my boundaries kind of thing. Alternatively, you can move an object that is really light up to 10 feet away from you. You don't damage it though. It's a relatively gentle sort of push. Or you can move shutters, slam shutters back and forth, or move some leaves. Rubbish. That's not useful, I don't think. Bit pointless. Maybe you use it if you're on Ghost Adventurers and you want to push objects around without any chance of there being wires being seen. Spooky! Other than that, I don't know, again, personal space boundary thing. Do you want to push people? I don't know, I can't see how this is that useful, because all you're doing is pushing stuff away. You can't bring anything closer. I can't think of many people that this would be that much useful that it would change the way they run their life. I can't even see it being how people change their jobs. Yeah, you might get a job in the movie industry or TV, like being really cheap special effects. I'll go with B. Our next spell is gross. It's Infestation. With Infestation, you actually need a living flea to cast this, and within 30 feet, you cause a cloud of mites, fleas, and other parasites to appear momentarily. So they don't last, and they basically do poison damage to someone if they fail Constitution saving throw. Again, with the 55% chance of poisoning someone. And they do 1d6 poison damage, which again is bringing someone either to the brink or pushing them off this mortal coil. And they have to move 5 feet in a random direction. Probably going, oh my god, get them off. Probably that. Ooh, this is nasty. What a horrible, horrible spell. This is a gross spell. You have to carry fleas around with you to do this. I guess it's kind of the perfect crime. Like, there's no way anyone's going to say you did this to someone, because they don't last. There's no actual sign of you casting it apart from you speaking and you weirdly carrying fleas around with you. And there's no evidence left. I don't know. I want to say D because, like, I don't want to encourage people to assassinate someone. So I'll say D. Yes, obviously, if you do want to murder someone, you could use this, but don't murder people. I'll sit with a D. Any assassins, please just disagree with me and don't come after me. Thank you. Moving on from that horribleness, let's talk about the next one, which is light. This is another spell that creates light, as it says. With this one, you need a firefly or a phosphorescent moss. And you basically touch an object, and for an hour, it sheds light in a 20-foot radius, with dim light going another 20 feet. I mean, this is a bright light, right? You can also colour it however you want. You can basically, like, block the light by, like, I don't know, putting a blanket over whatever object you've just put the spell on. Now with this, fireflies are probably hard to get. I don't know that you're going to be able to get them readily. And as far as I can tell, there's no sort of phosphorescent moss. I found species of moss that are luminescent, but none that are phosphorescent. So I don't think you can even use that as a material component. So you're stuck with fireflies. My issue is we've got lights. We don't need this. We've got a better way of doing this. Like, if you live somewhere where fireflies are basically a dime a dozen and all over the place, I mean, they're probably lighting up the area anyway. But yeah, sure, you could use this instead of using batteries or electric supply. But why would you? Who's going after fireflies rather than nipping down the shop and buying a torch or buying an outdoor light? Don't see this working. Don't see this ever being a situation where you have more fireflies and more access to fireflies than you do normal technology. I'm going to go with a D. I think this is completely outmatched by what we have already. Sorry, light. I do like you. I just think there's better ways of getting you. Our next cantrip is Lightning Lure. Now this one is it's a weird one. You basically create a lash out of lightning that you can chuck at someone within 15 feet. If they fail a strength saving throw, they're pulled up to 10 feet in a straight line towards you, and they take 1d8 lightning damage if they end up within 5 feet of you. What I don't really understand about this spell is why are you pulling someone that you're fighting closer to you? Now I get 1d8 is going to kill them. Like, the lightning damage, they're toast. Literally toast. But why are you pulling that unfortunate person towards you? I don't know, it's not like Infestation where this is like basically untraceable. People can see you like firing a lightning lash at them. I don't know. I can't see any reason that you can use this outside of hurting someone. And it's still not even a good way of hurting someone. I think this is a D. I think this is just like, yeah, it's flashy, but you can't not let it hurt someone, so you can't even use this in films. D. Rubbish. Here's a absolute like staple of D&D cantrips. It's Mage Hand. This lasts for a minute, and it's basically a spectral hand that within 30 feet you can use it to like manipulate objects. So unlock doors, containers, get stuff out, put stuff away from open containers, pour stuff into a vial, whatever. And you can move the hand 30 feet each time you use it, which is basically every 6 seconds. Now it can't carry much, £10 is not particularly heavy. It's like a really useful spell, being able to do stuff 30 feet away. It's like a remote control retriever of objects, right? Great. My issue that I'm confused about, because it's not mentioned in the spell, is how does it know what it's doing? Like, is this an autonomous object that can go and do stuff without your supervision? I'm going to say yes, it must be. But I think there's a little bit of doubt here. Because what I'm thinking of is, as an Englishman, I'm sitting on my sofa, I want a cup of tea. Can I get the spectral hand to go in and turn the kettle on, and then cast it again and get it to pour the water into the cup, and actually aim the cup when I can't see the cup? I hope so. If that's the case, and I'm going to say it is, I'm going to say that's fair, that it acts by itself autonomously. This is really useful, right? There's been times where I've had to put up, say, a running machine, and it would have been really useful to have another pair of hands, or even one more hand. Kind of useful, kind of helpful. Kind of makes you lazy. Like my example, maybe I should just get off the couch and like move about a little bit. Maybe that's a good idea. But I can see this being like a really useful remote control for the real world. Is it going to change your life? No, it's not. It's going to make things easier. It's going to make things more convenient. It's going to make things lazier, but I'm going to give it an A. I think this is just, yeah, there's always times where you could do with a little bit of extra help, or you can't be bothered. I'll go with an A. It's not changing anyone's life, but this spell's going to be used by everyone that can use it, I reckon. It's still a want to get, it's just not that life-changing. Our next cantrip is Magic Stone. You touch 1 to 3 pebbles and imbue them with magic, and then you or someone else can make a ranged spell attack using your ranged spell attack ability when you either throw it or chuck it with a sling. This is up to 60 feet, which is probably further than you can accurately chuck a stone. And you use your ability score rather than the attacker's. So you are actually making them a little bit more accurate. On a hit, the target takes 1d6 plus your spellcasting ability modifier, which for us is nothing. But 1d6 is a lot of damage. Like, that's a really, really well thrown stone that can kill someone. Can this be used outside of hurting someone? Maybe? Yeah, maybe. Are there stone throwing competitions where this would actually make you a little bit more accurate? Maybe this is good. Like, what if you're attacked by an animal somewhere? Maybe that would be helpful to be able to pick up a stone and actually like do some serious damage. Like a grizzly bear attacks you. Grab a stone, quickly cast it, and you're going to hurt that grizzly bear, and you're probably likely to hit it, given that you've got a 65% chance now. Yeah, maybe. Pretty niche though. About a C, I reckon. It's an emergency spell that, I don't know, I don't think I'm ever going to use it in my life. Some people might. A C seems fair. Our next cantrip is Mending. This is a spell that takes a minute to cast, so way longer than all the rest of them. It also requires 2 lodestones. And what it does is it repairs a single break or tear in an object that you touch. It gives lots of examples, and I think lots of them actually work with our technology. Now, as long as the break's no longer than a foot in any direction, it mends it perfectly. The bit about it not being able to repair a magic item or construct, yeah, we don't have them. That don't matter. I did look up lodestones, and they are things that you can get in real life. And the best I could find is like buying a bag of them for $30 or for between 24 and 36 stones. So about $1 each, which works out as a casting of $2 per casting. That's not bad for like going around and fixing things at home. You know, like anything you break, you can probably fix within like 10 minutes. It might cost you a bit of money, like 10 minutes worth of spells, that's 10 spells, that's $20. But there's going to be things that you want to repair that's worth $2 to repair it, right? Can you start a business with this though? Yeah, I think you can. I think there's call for being able to repair stuff completely invisibly. People have expensive clothes. For $2, you could just fix it. You wouldn't charge them $2. You'd charge them a lot more than $2, obviously. This is going to be useful to people in everyday life. Things break. Things tear. You want to be able to repair them. I do think you could make a decent, profitable business out of this. I don't think you're making millions. I don't see that happening. Because it takes a minute. I mean, you can do a lot of repairs. How much can you actually charge for the majority of repairs? You can do 60 an hour, sorry. You know, constant working. That's going to be, say you don't want to do like a full 8-hour day. Because this is, you know, kind of boring work. Say you do 4 hours a day. That's 240 repairs. Can you make $10 on that? On each repair? Maybe. Can you fill that time though? Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know if you can make enough money to make it life-changing. But you might make a good salary. Is that life-changing enough? Yeah, maybe. I mean, it does change your life. That becomes your job. You're secure financially. I think this might creep into S tier. Argue with me in the comments. If you don't think it's S tier, let me know why, because I would say being financially secure because of a job you can do is actually life-changing. I'd like that change, so I'd like this. This would be great. S tier. I'll keep it at S tier. Our next spell is a fantastic low-level spell in D&D. It's Message. It allows you to communicate with someone within 120 feet of you. You do need a short piece of copper wire, but copper wire, you know, is pretty easy to get here. You point your finger towards a creature within that 120 feet and whisper a message. They and only they can hear the message, and they can reply in a whisper that only you can hear. This can go through solid objects as long as you know the person that you're actually communicating with. Unfortunately, it can't go through a foot of stone or an inch of common metal, or lead, or 3 feet of wood. It doesn't have to follow a straight line, so it can go round things if need be, but it's still got about 120 feet. Brilliant in game, where it's difficult to communicate with someone secretly. We've got phones, we've got text messages. We don't need this. We don't need to do this. And you know what? Phones don't have a limit of 120 feet. You can text anyone anywhere. Also, this lasts around. So for 6 seconds, you can whisper something and get a whisper back. That's a maximum of 3 seconds each with no thought on the other end. That's rubbish. Text someone. Just WhatsApp them. Telegraph them. Go on a Discord server. It don't matter. Whatever. They're secret. No one else can hear them. This is... Oh, is there even a use when you want to do this? If someone's watching you, they can still see that you're whispering to someone. They might not be able to hear it, but it's clear that that's what you're doing. And you've got a point. Sorry to be rude at you. I was just trying to send you a message, you know. No, it's weird. Text. Just text someone. This is D tier. If you want me to change my mind, you know what to do. Message me. But not with this. I'm going to call it there for part 1 because this video is really long already. I'll do another part 2, finishing off the cantrips, and I'll go through all of the other spells. If you enjoyed this, let me know if there's any other games or scenarios that you'd like me to look at the magic in there in real life. I hope people enjoyed it. And if you got to the end and you're still here, thanks. That's amazing. Cheers. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.